Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my video, where I will show you how I prepared 3D model of chapel from drone video. I made it with RealityScan software, and I would love to show you how, so you can make your own 3D scan model. At first, we will need a drone footage with object in mind that you want to digitize. Higher resolution is better, so you will keep more details. In RealityScan, I like to use images rather than video, because it is simpler, and if some pictures is blurry, I can delete it. Also, the sheer number of frames in video is overwhelming and lead to long processing times. I export the video into JPEG files with Photoshop, where I simply in File Selection, then Export, and click to render video. I select Export Folder and Photoshop Image Sequence and proceed to render. When we have the JPEGs exported, we can open RealityScan and start there. After export, it is good to check and select the images, so there is not too many of them, and that you can delete the blurry ones. In RealityScan, we can start with simply dragging the selected images from Total Commander window into left section of RealityScan. Next step will be aligning the images, where RealityScan unleashes its magic and creates little dots from all the uploaded images. When they are aligned, which took about 2 minutes on NVIDIA 4080, the point cloud of chapel is clearly visible. You can see all the positions of each image taken with drone, which creates multiple circles with different heights and angles on the object, and that resulted in great overlapping of the images, which is needed for good result. Okay, we have approached next step after aligning images, and that is setting the ground plane. If you look closely, you can notice that the model is slightly off axis, turned a bit. We need to turn it on correctly. Also, it does lean a bit. So, you will need to play a little bit with selecting the right view from left or top and adjust how the model sits on the ground plane. You can skip it, but later on you'll have to do it in 3ds Max, Blender or any other software you use. When you are happy with orientation of your model in space, it is necessary to set the reconstruction region. It limits where the model will be generated and where it will not be generated. It's just a simple box with easily adjustable planes where you quickly set up what will be kept on. The model generation is handled in section marked as Mesh Model. There you have basically two options, normal detail and high detail. In settings, we can also adjust how it will be processed. I usually go with normal detail, which for me is usually good enough. And generating normal detail already takes about 9 minutes. With high detail, it goes only up. And behold, the beautiful clay model of Usov Chapel. Gorgeous. My model has about 9 million triangles, what is far too many for what I need, and I'll need to simplify the scene. For me, 150,000 is much better. And what I will do is this. I'll separate the chapel itself from the ground, which can be less detailed. And the chapel can have more geometry. For that, I'll use filter selection, where I select parts I don't want, like I won't be using the trees. I'll replace them with some nicer vegetation from Evermotion or Chaos Cosmos browser. So with rectangle tool, I select triangles I want to delete and press filter selection. It makes new model without the trees and keep the old one, so I can get back to it if needed. For filtering the triangles, I also use lasso tool, where I can precisely select the line where the grass meet the wall, and I can nicely get to all the corners. And when I'm happy and I have selected all that I want, I can proceed to the filter selection and just delete off the parts of the model that is not necessary. As I prepared the two models, one for chapel, one for grass, I'll simplify the geometry. For the grass, which will serve as ground plane for scattering high poly grass in 3ds Max, so it doesn't have to be very detailed, 100,000 triangles is good. And for the chapel, there I want it to be a little more detailed, so 175,000 triangles. When we have our model simplified, although the clay model is very nice, it lacks some texture for facade and roof. So back in the section Mesh Model, is button for colorize the object, and later on also just next to the button is another one for creating texture. You can adjust the texture size in settings and many other options, which you can see on the left side. The process of coloring is quite fast, but applying texture can take about 10 minutes and more. When you have lots of source photos, it will take long. Last but not least is exporting the model. It is in right toolmarks under the export section, and it is quite self-explanatory. Now I only need to click on Mesh and Point Cloud. Check if all the settings are correct, select export location, and that's it. After importing the model into 3ds Max, I put there the vegetation I want, some nice grass, a big nice tree, and I proceed to enhancing the atmosphere with some nice evening HDRI sun. I set up the camera, and in this case I rendered the scene with Chaos Vantage. Thank you everyone who viewed the tutorial up to this point. You can check the result on my YouTube channel. I hope you liked my tutorial and thank you for watching and happy scanning. Goodbye!